In this video, we're going to be making the St Ives Plant Hanger. For the first step, you need to take all 5 of your 4-metre cords and fold them in half so that they hang evenly on each side. Next, you're going to take your 5-metre cord and you're going to fold this so that you've got an extra 1 metre on the right hand side. Once you've done that, we're going to tie a lark's head knot around these cords. And we're going to do that 8 centimetres down from the left. So to tie the lark's head knot, you take the fold in your longer piece of cord, thread that under just this side of the cords, and then pull through your 2 longer ends. Once you've done that, pull that nice and tight. If you want to measure your 8 centimetres from the centre, feel free to get a ruler at this point, and if you need to move it a little bit, you can just pull it or push it. So we're making sure that if we were to flop this over with the others now, this one would be our longer side of this cord. So what we're going to do now is turn this into the loop that we can hang our plant pot hanger from. To do that, we're going to tie 16 more lark's head knots, doing what we call the continuous lark's head knot. Now for the continuous lark's head knot, I do find it easiest to take this off of the hook and just do this holding it in my hands. I'm going to demonstrate the knot on the floor for you, just so that you can see what I'm doing without me wiggling it all over the place. So this is your right hand side of the lark's head knot we just did, and this is your longer piece. So we're going to knot this way to make our loop for the top of the plant hanger. So first what you're going to do is take this cord, bring it over to the front of the others, and then you're going to pull it up behind them all and back through that loop. So then we can pull that nice and tight. And then we're going to do another one, but this time we're going to go behind those cords. And then we're going to pull the cord over the front of them and through the loop again. So there's your second lark's head knot. Now what we're going to do is repeat that another 15 times going round. I'm going to do that off camera so that I can hold it in my hands. Now that you've tied your 17 lark's head knots, you should see that you've started to form your loop. Because we were doing all of that knotting with the longer end of the 5-metre cord, you shall also find that all of your cords are roughly the same length at the bottom now as well. So to secure our loop, we're going to take the 2 cords that we've been using for the lark's head knots. We're going to pull everything together in the centre, and we're going to use these 2 cords to tie 2 square knots at the base of our loop. So to do that, take the left cord, pull it over the front of all the other cords. Take your right cord, we're going to bring that behind everything, and then through this loop here. Now pull that as tight as you can underneath all of your other knots. And then we're going to take the right cord, bring that over the front of everything, take your left cord behind everything, and pull that through the loop. So that's 1 square knot. We're just going to do that again to tie the second one. Now that you've tied your 2 square knots, we're just going to pull all of these cords that have gone through the middle. We're just going to give all of those a little tug to make sure that our square knots are as close to the loop as we can get them. Now we're going to want to split our cords into 3 groups of 4 cords each. So for the first group, start with one of your working chords from the previous knots and then just take 3 other chords that are somewhere close to it. Now we're going to tie 2 square knots in this group directly below our previous knots. We want to make sure that the knot we were working with previously now goes into the centre of these ones. So this is the same as the square knots we did here. We're going to take the left chord over the others and the right chord is going to go underneath and come up the back through that loop. And the second one. Now we want to make the twist in this group. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the chords that we were knotting with and the centre chords. We're going to split the centre chords, bring the knotting chords into the middle, and then we're going to wrap them around again. So now we're going to bring these chords back into the middle so they're back to being the centre chords. Now leaving a gap of about 4 centimetres, we're going to tie 2 more square knots. So there you can see we've got our first twisted part of this group. Now we're going to make another twist below our 2 square knots here. So again, we're going to part the centre chords, bring the working chords into the middle, and then switch them again so that our centre chords are back to being the centre chords. And once again, leaving about 4 centimetres, we're going to tie 2 more square knots. Now for the final time, we're going to do that twist again. And tie our last pair of square knots for this group. Again, leaving that 4 centimetre gap. There we go. So now we're going to do this again with our second group. So if we flip our whole thing around, so this time we want this chord that we were working with here, we're going to put this one into the centre of this group. So we pick 3 chords from around it, and again making sure it's in the centre, we're going to tie those 2 square knots right up at the top and continue on until we get to the same length here, doing the exact same as you did on this group. Once you've done that, you're going to take your remaining 4 chords and do it again so that you've got 3 matching groups. Okay, so now you should have your 3 groups. Each one should have 4 pairs of square knots with your twists in between. What we're going to do now is we're going to join these 3 straps together so that we can start working on the basket that your pot is going to sit in. Okay, so we're going to leave a gap of about 15 centimetres under your last square knot. If you want to be precise, feel free to use a ruler. You want to take the knotting cord that you've been using here and the closest centre cord. And we're going to take from the next group around the closest knotting cord and the closest centre cord. Okay, so you can see them flat like that. So leaving a gap of about 15 centimetres, we're going to tie 2 more square knots. Okay. So now you can see we've got these 2 groups attached. So next we're going to attach this one to this one next to it. So again, we're taking the centre cord from here and the knotting cord, and the knotting cord and the centre cord from here. And we're making sure that when we bring them together, the ones we were previously knotting with now become the ones in the centre. Again, we're leaving that 15 centimetres so that we can get this at around the same height as the one next to it. Now you can see we've just got one more gap to fill, and then these will be attached all the way around. So we're just going to flip it over at the top so we've got that on this side. Again, we're making sure that the cords we knotted with previously are now in the centre. And we're tying those 2 square knots again. Okay, so now all 3 of our groups are attached. Okay, so now what we're going to do, under the 3 pairs of square knots that we've just made, we're going to leave about 10 centimetres, and we're going to join them back up again, taking the closest 2 cords from each group, and this time we're going to do 10 square knots. So now we've tied these 10 square knots, you can see that we've got the start of a basket here. So if you can see, it comes down from these 2 to these, and then we're coming back under here. So now we're going to do the same again with the next group, and we're just going to go around so that we've got everything attached. So we'll do this once more to attach these 2, and then we'll do it again to attach these 2. Now to create your base, you're going to take your other piece of 0.5 metre cord and directly under your square knot, so you're going to gather everything together, and we're going to tie a wrap knot. So to do that, you'll lay your smaller cord over the top. We're going to use it to create a loop, like that. And then you're going to take the longer end and we're going to wrap that around everything 5 times. Once you've done your 5 turns, we're going to take the loop that we made at the beginning, and you're just going to bring your longer end through the loop. Hold that with your other hand, and then we're going to pull this short bit that's coming out the top. That just pulls everything nice and tight, and then you can trim these end pieces to tidy it up. If you want to neaten it up even further, you can take the ends of your scissors or a big needle, and the bits we've just trimmed, you can just push them further into the knot as well. Now, to make sure we've got everything as tight to the wrap knot as possible, we're going to one by one take all of the cords coming out the bottom and just give them all a little bit of a tug. Okay, so now that we've tied the base of our plant pot hanger, you'll note that you'll have quite a long tail coming out of the bottom. Now, I do give you quite a lot of cord for the plant hangers, just in case you go wrong somewhere, so you've got a little bit left over, just in case you need the extra. So you can trim your tail as long or as short as you like. I like mine quite long. So you'll just choose your spot and you can just cut that off. Okay, so now we're going to put our plant pot in the plant pot holder. So to do that, you'll just open it up, and then above your rows of 10 square knots, we can just pop the plant pot through that gap. Make sure it's sitting nicely on top of your wrap knot, and then adjust your plant if you have to. And there we go. There is your St Ives Plant Pot Hanger.